Hello, Harley friends. I was on an alumni visit last week, went to New York and Boston to see some alums, and I wanted to tell you a story that came out of it. At one of the events, we were having dinner in a restaurant in Cambridge, and there was an alumna from the class of '82 and an alumnus from, I think, the class of 2017, somebody who's a sophomore at Tufts. And there was one of those moments in the conversation where the older alumna said to the younger alumnus, "So, how did Harley prepare you? What was the difference that came out of going to Harley?" And it was an interesting question to me, and one that I've actually heard a lot. And so the young sophomore at Tufts said, "Well, the thing I've really noticed is that when I'm in class, I'm sitting up front, I have questions, and every so often I'll look over my shoulder and think, what are these people doing?" The attitude that young alumnus expressed was a kind of, "I'll go first" attitude. And it was something that I've heard from my own kids, from lots of other alums who've recently started college. This idea that when they go to college, they feel ready to engage with the faculty. They are not afraid of adults, and they expect to be respected. So where does that all come from? I wanted to start by telling you about something that happens with our very youngest kids in Nursery Yellow, which is populated by 3-year-olds. And in Nursery Yellow, they do something called 3 Things About Me. And what happens with 3 Things About Me is that each student in the class is given a chance to bring 3 objects from home to share with their classmates. So the kids are asked to think about the question, well, what are 3 things that are important to me? What is it that I would say about them to my classmates? How do I talk about them in a way that they'll be able to understand why they're important to me? And so they all sit in a circle, of course, and the person who's making the presentation has a bag that says 3 things about me on it, and they give a little talk. Now, in this case, they're 3 years old, so they're sitting right next to their teacher, and there are moments when they need a little prompting or a little propping up. But it's the beginning of a long arc of opportunities and expectations, honestly, at Harley, in which kids are asked to think about what it is that's important to them, to make choices about what they want to say, and to get up and proudly say it. Next up is Wolf Tank. This is a takeoff on the popular TV show Shark Tank, in which middle school students are asked to develop a prototype and make a public presentation or pitch to upper school students and other adults in the community. This is a pretty challenging process. There's a lot of collaboration, prototype development, writing, and then ultimately figuring out what is it that we want to say about this thing and practicing how to say it. The middle school at Harley is actually full of opportunities like Wolf Tank. Developmentally appropriate, fun activities in which kids get to sharpen their own thinking, to offer their thoughts often to people who are older than them, and to start to actually have the experience of getting a little bit of constructive criticism or feedback. And in the upper school at Harley, students are expected to develop their thinking, to be able to defend their thinking, to share it publicly, to get feedback. In the senior year, the capstone program is an opportunity that students have to take a passion or a deep interest and really develop it, to begin to become the actual expert in the room. In the capstone program this year, there are some 15 students who are doing projects, one of which is a student with an interest in linguistics who's actually trying to develop his own language. Another of whom is learning to automate the solar chimneys in the barn. There is a pair who are doing a project on gender dynamics at the high school level. So that little exchange at dinner last weekend in Cambridge obviously got me to thinking about the arc of a Harley education, but it also got me thinking about how it's different from the experiences that most other people have. I think we live in a society in which most people are frankly leaning back and hoping that they won't get called on. But Harley graduates are out there saying, "I'll go first."